These technologies would immediately solve the world's energy, environmental, and poverty problems. Why? These are what people call, senior executive with a big Fortune 100 company contacted us. They're called, some people say free energy, but they're 0 point and quantum vacuum energy systems, pulling energy out of, let's call it the fabric of space-time. These begin to be developed. Tesla knew about this, so I think Elon Musk doesn't have a Tesla, he has a Musk. A real Tesla we'd have to plug in. I'd have one little battery in it. But the point is that these technologies would have a huge revolutionary effect. Macroeconomically, there would be some losers: oil industry, public utilities, nuclear power, now wind, solar, surface roads.
Now, this guy, if you haven't seen him before, he's been everywhere. He's been on TV shows. He's been on all of those alien encounter type shows that used to come on the History Channel. And here's the thing. I'm so confused with the way the government works, because I feel after watching that congressional hearing on UFOs and disclosure of that there's something fishy going on, not within just the government, but within the military. And here's why. That conference that you saw him speaking at, that was held June 12th this year. And you don't hear a peep out of anyone other than people like me that love looking up this stuff, whether it's true or not. I just enjoy learning and seeing if there's other people that jive with me. And here's the thing. This gentleman has written many books, all right? Him and many others have written many books on this stuff. And what I find concerning is that how come the government has not discredited or thrown Dr. Greer off a cliff or something? I'm not trying to call for him to be murdered or nothing. I'm just saying there's certain people that go missing and there's other people that get to talk. And I always find that kind of interesting, don't you? Now, I've seen him on shows, I've seen him give talks, I've seen him really kind of spearhead this study of ETs, right? Extraterrestrial life. And I think a lot of people get that confused with aliens with big heads, bugged eyes, and that's it. When people say ETs, they're just talking about extra territories that we do not know about. Me and you don't get to explore. Think Antarctica, right? You're not allowed to go there. It's a no-no. But at this summit, he had a couple military personnel give their testimony of things that they witnessed while they were doing, as this gentleman here says, we were called to do humanitarian assistance operations out in the Philippines. Humanitarian.
The office, I asked, right? I was like, all right, is there the lab somewhere where we're keeping the alien specimens in spaceship?
It's time to find out what the truth really is that's out there. There are these cases in which documents haven't been made available to the American public. They ought to be declassified. They ought to be released. The American people, quite frankly, can handle the truth.
Well, the best way I could put this for people that are literally slow out there, try to understand people like you and me go and work for military, work for governments, work for different agencies, and there's certain things that we're sworn to secrecy about. But when those things get out, when those things start to threaten people's lives, right, or are used to actually harm different populations of people, then there's going to be some questions and there's going to be people that will come forward. We should be very concerned about what our military is doing, what our top officials are doing. It's bad enough that we've given the military branch of government so much power, right? Which really falls under our executive branch, which is the president. And do you think anybody's depending on President Biden for anything? Do you think they tell him anything? The reason they put him there is so that they can go on with all of their experimental things that they're doing and all their test runs and all the things that they're trying to implement and back engineer without anybody questioning or pushing or applying any pressure to them. Like, how about I read this from the Associated Press to give you guys an understanding here. The U.S. is concealing a long-standing program that retrieves and reverse engineers unidentified flying objects. A former Air Force intelligence officer testified Wednesday to Congress. I know we laughed about this. Many of us picked this apart as just a false flag or an issue that we shouldn't even worry about because the government is just running all these things around us to create Project Bluebeam, and so on and so forth. But it gave me pause when I realized that hearing with Stephen Greer had a different story to tell about what the government does and how they use the military, you know, special ops groups to run experiments and to back engineer these type of spacecraft, right? And what I find interesting is that I feel that the government is divided and it's split. We have an executive branch, the office of the president, that's supposed to control its military. He's the one that can say, drop the bomb, do whatever you have to do to get things under control. He can enact things that put us at risk with other countries, like going to war. And yet, the Pentagon has denied claims of ex-military officers. This means that people are not able to speak up on things that they see, be whistleblowers, without having their own government deny the claims. This should be very concerning to people, very concerning, because that means that the government can't control its military, that they're doing their own thing. And that tells me really who's controlling this country. Separate entities or separate groups that are running our government. It's not the office of the president. And this should be very concerning for people. We are laughing at this and thinking it's not a big deal. It's a very big deal, especially in the future.